When I plan my attack, when I plan my attack, I doubt that you're ready. Rhymes like bullets penetrate your zone. One time on the MIC. When I plan my attack, I doubt that you're ready. Rhymes like bullets penetrate your zone. On the MIC.
Yeah. White on the track again, PPL is back again, coming for the Patty's twins, cause she the champion. It's the Pantheon Cup we all battle for. When rivals get to scrapping, it's a savage war. This is what we waited for. Finally, y'all, the time is here. Fantasy is back, my favorite fucking time of year. Light your bloods a tie now. PPL is live now, the show where shit gets real, dog. We're all after the pie now. Geno in the jet, he hosts the show, uploading videos. He does it all from A to Z. You like the league to pay the fee or win it all and play for free. Play to be the best or lazy. It's a league of competition, still the crown, that's the mission. Dog, it's time to get it cracking, plan your moves and start attacking. PPL is back in action, teams get mad, you know what happens. Hate each other, play with passion, build a team with trades and drafting. I think I done said my part, it's time for PPL to start.
When I plan my attack, when I plan my attack, I doubt that you're ready. Rhymes like bullets penetrate your zone.
All right, we've gotten through the first part of the season. Interconference warfare is now upon us. 1/3 of the season is through. We're in the second third. Interconference warfare is where the best separate themselves and where the survivors survive. We're here for week 6 of PPL Live. We got Ulysses S. Haight on the line. Geno is here. Let's jump into our week 5 scores. Starting with the Argonauts, leaving no doubt in a crucial Alpha Conference game against Only for the Boss. 177 to 112. The Gaff Attack gets their first win of the season with a huge performance. 147 to 130. Patty's Twins with one of the most magical comebacks in PPL history behind Jonathan Taylor's 30 points. Gets by the United Players by less than 158 to 157. Squad Underestimated finally gets back into the winner's circle, defeating the Mean Machine 135 to 118, and appease the gods with the greatest comeback in PPL history, surpassing the Argonauts' comeback over the Gaff Attack. Defeats the Skulls 163 to 152. Alrighty, PPLers, we're going to get into our final standings projections brought to you by Snickers. Alright, Fantasy Trends starting at number 10, the Mean Machine dropping to 10 after benching Justin Herbert. At number 9, the Baby Gas team falls back to earth, losing to number 8, the Gaff. At number 7, we have Patty's Twins. What are we doing here? Number 6, Only for the Boss, the 2 PPL finalists at 7 and 6. At number 5, Squad Underestimated, still holding strong. At number 4, Appease the Gods after the big comeback, jumps into the top 4. At number 3, we have the United Players, the Destroyers, holding steady despite the 3-game losing streak. Number 2, the Skulls, despite the crucial loss, they still hold strong. And at number 1, the last undefeated team, the Argonauts, staying strong at the number 1 pole position. Anything you're thinking of here, Ulysses?
Like how this is shaking out. I mean, you look at the top half, you see playoff teams, you see the bottom half, you see teams that you just don't expect to make it.
Right.
I do see some of the middle ground to be established here, but I'm excited because some of these guys are playing in interconference warfare this
Definitely.
week, so things should start to shake out.
Right, man. Definitely. And with that said, looking at Fantasy Trends, we're going to get you guys into the good, the bad, and the ugly. Alrighty, we know what it is. Good, bad, and ugly. Give it to me for week 5, man.
Yeah, I mean, good. I mean, it's got to be ATG.
Mm-hmm.
When it's good, it's good.
Right.
ATG gets right by relying on the MVP. Lamar is proving the doubters wrong. He's beating these teams in every aspect of his game.
Mm-hmm.
He would be 5-0 right now had he started Lamar every game like he should have been.
Right.
Got right. He needed a heroic effort, and Jackson and Andrews delivered.
Right.
With a clutch win over the Skulls and the Twins sneaking by the UP, ATG finds themselves atop the Omega all alone right now.
Right.
And getting this win in this fashion must have the gods and the PPL feeling like they were the recipients of some divine intervention.
Oh, definitely, definitely. All right, man, give me your bat.
It's got to be BGT, man. And this was a hard one for me. It's not just the loss this week. It's the Russ injury.
Okay.
This team had strung together 2 quality wins and
Right.
were jockeying for playoff position. Gaff came to play. I
Definitely.
said he would be. He's coming off waiver wire and free agency plays, which we saw with Damian Williams, Dawson Knox last week.
Right.
Again, the loss is what it is, but losing, Russ for a big chunk of the remaining season means the lights are getting dimmer for the BGT's playoff hopes.
Mm-hmm.
Unless he can find a competent replacement, it's just not going to be easy with bye weeks hit also this week.
Right. And what's your ugly, man?
It's the UP, man. They weren't my initial pick.
Right.
With a respectable line. I mean, this team put points up, but the loss with the roster is starting to make me scratch my head.
Okay.
By week 5, we know who's got it and who doesn't. He's got the number 1 QB, the number 1 RB,
right.
the number 1 wide receiver, and the number 2 wide receiver.
Well, I mean, this is a win if they had benched that coach.
Well, I mean, again, that's what we're talking about. This
right.
team traditionally has problems. Like, how are you 2-3 and have lost 3 in a row with this record? But again, you look back at his plays. He's got a history of making these kinds of plays.
Right.
Why is your coach even in at that point? He was at a position where it was just like, don't get a negative.
Yeah.
Just
definitely.
don't get a negative. Hey, feel all that confidence in the world.
Yeah.
Look at your position and make the best move for your team. Again, it cost him. I think they rebound next week.
Okay.
But the UP have officially hit their ugly stretch in the season.
Yeah.
I think it's only up from here for them.
All right, man. I'm going to go with my good. My good's Patty's Twins. Magical comeback. And you know what? One person's mistake is another person's fortune. And Patty's Twins capitalized like few teams ever could dream of that coach loss. I mean, the United players were on their way to doing what you said they were going to do. Leave no doubt. Patty's Twins said, not so fast, my friend. Jonathan Taylor with 33. Austin Eckler with 28. Aaron Rodgers with a solid 21. And the plays are great at the defense and the coach. That LA Chargers coach was a gutsy last-second play. They got the close win, and that spurred her on to victory. So that was some of the good for me to start this one off. My bad is only for the boss, man. This was a team that I picked to go to the Pantheon Cup. This is their second stinker week of the season. We saw them lose a bad one to the Baby Gas team. Now, both of their stinker weeks are losses, so you do have that. But it was 112. Anybody in the league would have got them. That Chief Love hasn't looked as dynamic as it has looked in years past. And it could still only for the boss down. Their receiver, Stephon Diggs, I'm looking at, wasn't as explosive as we thought coming into the season. And it's kind of slowed them down. They need help at RB. And it's still time to get right for them. That's why they're only bad. My ugly is a team that is either refusing to get right or just don't know no better. And I think I'm going to go with the former, not the latter, because I've seen this team win a Pantheon Cup. So I know that they know what they're doing. It's the Mean Machine. The Trey Lance play, as I predicted, was a disaster for them. This was a guy making his first career start in the NFL against an undefeated team. Why make that play? It bit him hard, and it kept Squad underestimated in the hunt, which was a big win for Squad. Hats off to them for getting it done. But the negligence on the Mean Machine's part from that trade at the beginning of the season through every single week has carried on, and I don't know if it's going to get any better for them, so they're my ugly. And that's going to actually segue us into our first matchup of Week 6 as the Mean Machine takes on Appease the Gods. All right, man, so here we go. Let's jump right into it. Mean Machine at 0-5, going against Appease the Gods at 4-1. These two teams have met in the Pantheon Cup, have met in the Final Four in the past, so there's a little bit of a rivalry in history there. We got Lamar Jackson going against Justin Herbert, who, surprise, is appropriately back in the lineup. We also have Myles Gaskin making his first appearance for ATG, a great waiver wire claim. Probably one of the better waiver wire claims I've seen all year, getting a starting running back from a team that probably should have never probably been dropped in the first place. And then obviously on the other side, I do like the Mean Machine's plays in his backfield, and I do like the Kadarius Toney pickup, man. What do you think of this matchup? Mean Machine with that Bucks combo going up against Appease the Gods, who seem to be favored by Zeus himself.
I mean, I'm sure ATG is still riding high, and I think he has good reason to be.
Right.
I mean, Machine has not gotten right this season. He's got the MVP in his roster, and he'll remain in that lineup going forward. I mean, he has an injury designation, but anybody seen at the end of that game knows he's perfectly all right.
Right.
You know, and things just started to crack. I really, if you watch the film, Andrews, I mean, really was settling in. I like what I saw, the connection there, and I think that's only gonna continue. I mean, they had a big night, but already they're at the number 2 in that position, and I expect Andrews to be the number 1 tight end by the end of the season.
Okay.
You know, ATG still has major injuries to the running back position. You know, Barkley this week had an ankle injury. Montgomery's on the IR, but as you said, he was able to get through free agency last week.
Right.
I mean, Perrine came in off the Mixon injury.
Right. Contributed big time.
Sizable day.
Yeah.
This week he went out and got Myles Gaskin. I mean, these guys are available. I don't understand why other teams are not necessarily getting this talent. But
right.
He's going to always benefit if that's the case. You know, Herbert and Lamar clash this week. This could be a trap game with Herbert playing. You know, hey, why don't Trey Lance equal when you're playing ATG? I don't know. I've got ATG winning comfortably this week, though, 127 to 112.
All right, man. This one's actually a little tougher than it might look. I do like ATG, but a lot of that was matchup based from last week. They just got put into a perfect position, and Lamar and company responded in kind, and it just was a beautiful mosaic of a victory for ATG on Monday night. Going into this week, I think this is actually a 50-50 game as the probability has it. Justin Herbert is the equalizer for the Mean Machine. If the Mean Machine starts him, he's looking at about 150 plus last week. So the scoring potential actually is there at times. I like the Kadarius Toney pickup because this team is bottom of the barrel at the wide receiver position. Khalil Herbert, as long as Justin Fields is out there, I like any running back in the Chicago backfield because Justin really opens up the running game for the Chicago Bears, and I think that the Khalil Herbert play might be a good one, even with Damian Williams also playing. Where I'm worried about this matchup and what's making it tough for me to pick is the head coach and defensive plays here. I like Tampa Bay to win the game tonight here against Philly, but I'm not really sure about their defense. ATG, I don't know about that Baltimore coach. The Chargers are looking like a team that could easily go into Baltimore and get a win. Baltimore found themselves down by double digits to the Colts in that matchup, so it's not like the Chargers also couldn't put them into some trouble there. That being said, I just like Mike Evans tonight. I like Devonta Smith tonight. I think that game's going to end up being high scoring. Tom's on a mission. I think Tom wants to get be the oldest league MVP, and he's going to try to get the numbers pumped up. I think that helps ATG also with Mike Evans, and I think that his lineup's better overall. I got ATG actually in a squeaker, 121 to the Mean Machines, 114. And moving on to our next matchup, we go into a big one for both teams teetering in the PPL as the Baby Gas team takes on the United Play as the Destroyers. All right, man, so it's your bad against your ugly, man. The Baby Gas team and the United Play as the Destroyers. Obviously, things are crucial here. Ryan Tannehill has to start for the BGT, who lost Russell Wilson, and their matchup. On the UP side, it's going to be a tough one out there. Looking at it, how they haven't been able to string together a win. What do you think of this one?
I mean, you said it, bad versus ugly. I mean, somebody has to get right. And to me, just looking at the lineups, I mean, it has to be the UP.
Right.
They are too talented to not win a very winnable game. And,
okay.
I mean, I say that because, again, BGT had one of their highest scoring days last week. But again, they
still lost.
They still lost, and without Russ, I mean, that impacts this team's ceiling.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think any team this season has been more impacted by injuries. It's just been a terrible season for it, off season through this week. I mean, look at their it's just a
right.
Christmas tree of outs and doubtfuls.
Right.
I mean, the UP talked about it in my ugly segment, like, they have no reason not to win this game.
Okay.
They have the talent and matchups to do what I picked them to do last week, and I again am having the UP leaving no doubt on the BGT this week.
Okay.
And get right week, UP going 155 to the BGT's 109.
All right. The United players are still the highest scoring team in the league, so every reason to pick them to leave, no doubt, is there. But something's missing, man. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's just the gamesmanship, because if they just bench the coach, they walk away with the win, and they're sitting near the top of the Omega Conference going into interconference warfare and into a very, very winnable game here against the BGT. The BGT are the walking wounded right now. I mean, the baby gas team has gotten gassed. I mean, like you said, all their guys are hurt. Ryan Tannehill's a spot start. Now, that Buffalo game can be high scoring, but he's going against the #1 defense in the league. We saw what he did to they did to Patrick Mahomes last week. Josh Jacobs is in an okay start against Denver, but even there, you don't know what to expect. And it's just going to be a uphill climb for the BGT. Now, on the United player side, hey, I think Tom is going to have a big game. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles have a good defensive line, and I think that could slow Tom down a little bit. But like I said, I think this guy's on a mission. He's got the #1 wide receiver, the #2 wide receiver, and Chris Godwin, who's a double dip with Tom. There's no reason why they don't get right. I also like the tight end play. I think the United players get this win going away. I got the United players winning this one 140 to the BGT's 114. And moving on to our next matchup, we go into a matchup of teams maybe catching up and coming to similar directions, but maybe this matchup will tell, as Only for the Boss takes on the 1-4 Gaff Attack. All right, man, interconference warfare continues. Only for the Boss, last year's dark horse in the Alpha Conference. This year's was my Pantheon Cup pick, going against last year's Omega Conference champion. This could have easily been our matchup in Pantheon Cup 12, but the Gaff fell short to Patty's Twins. What do you think of this matchup, man? Only for the Boss going up against the Gaff. This was a big one last year, but this year, both of these teams aren't what we expected, at least so far.
I mean, I think that's what makes it so important. You know, I think both of these teams are going to be jockeying for playoff position in this expanded format. You know, Only for the Boss was my runner-up for this week. You know, would have gotten it if Yuki had held on against the Twins. You know, the Chiefs are going through some growing pains as frankly, the D continues to impact Only for the Boss's production.
Right.
They just can't get the ball back. I think that this was more a reflection of how good the Bills are, though, especially this past week. And I think that they should have a field day against Washington.
Okay.
I have no reason to believe that they can't get right. And so I think that these early struggles ultimately help the Boss towards a playoff push later in the season. But you mentioned it earlier, like, this is interconference warfare, and this is a very winnable one. So, you know, I think that, you know, patience must be wearing thin for the Boss. They definitely expected to be in a better position at this point.
Right.
You know, the Gap has got to be feeling good. Again, coming off their first win, highest effort of the season. And right now, I'll tell you, Gap is out to play spoil sport.
Right.
He's just out here trying to ruin lives. And, you know, I think that fact remains. They still don't have the Only for the Boss's talent level.
Okay.
I expect the Gap to keep it competitive, but are not able to close the gap. I think that Only for the Boss gets this one relatively comfortable, 135 to 120.
All right. I want to agree with you, man, but I'm not sure what Only for the Boss is going to do with that wide receiver 2 position. At Washington, I expect them to be able to do what they want offensively. There's no doubt for that there. Chase Edmonds has been a solid play. I think you hit the nail on the head with that guy. And Tony Pollard also gave him a solid game at the running back position, but the usual suspects actually weren't in order when I looked at Stephon Diggs and the night effort that he got from the Chiefs in that matchup with the Argo. That coach win was a lot more stressful than the Boss would have liked, but it looks like he's still going to that well against Chicago. Now, that is a team that Green Bay has success against, and it is a divisional matchup, but you never know. That Tennessee defense has to get changed out. I don't know what he's thinking there. There's just these little details with Only for the Boss where I'm starting to question their long-term liability, because they've got to get wins in interconference warfare to compete for an Alpha Conference title. I don't think this is a team that can fall out of playoff contention, but if you start losing games like this, you never know. On the Gaff side, I'm seeing maximum effort. I'm seeing gamesmanship. That Buffalo play last week was gamesmanship at its finest, because he got a little bit of cold feet with that Vikings head coach. I think he was listening to PPO Live, made a late change and didn't really need to. I mean, Minnesota made it stressful, but they got that win. that made him panic, especially after Dallas had such a good performance from BGT and he went on ahead and got Buffalo coach. That might be setting him up for success further on. Coach is one of the harder things for people to nail on a week-to-week basis, and that's a good scoring source for the Gaff. Claypool is coming into form with no Juju Smith-Schuster. CeeDee Lamb is going to be a great play the rest of the season, as is D-Hop every week. He can plug and play at the running back position the rest of the year on the waiver wire. And I like that Pittsburgh defense. That was a great waiver wire pickup. I got the Gaff attack actually in an upset here, getting by only for the Boss 131 to only for the Boss's 124. And moving on to our next matchup, we go into a huge matchup. Two teams standing near the top of the standings. The last undefeated standing against a team with aspirations to be where the other has been, as the Argonauts take on the Skulls. All right, man, so here we go with this matchup. Dak Prescott against Josh Allen. Najee Harris against Darrell Henderson Jr. We got Devontae Adams against DK Metcalf. Star-studded matchup here, Argonauts. Skulls. Obviously, the Skulls were the victims of the greatest comeback in PPL history. Before that, the Argonauts were actually the team who put a team down with the greatest comeback in PPL history. What do you think of this matchup, Argo Skulls?
Yeah, I mean, Argo, leaving no doubt the prestige matchup will always have you high.
Right.
I mean, so they go facing an opponent looking for revenge. And I've got the Argos as the victim of some displacement aggression this week.
Okay.
Josh Allen has me believing that the Bills are the best team in the AFC.
Right.
And that the Skulls made the best pick of the first round of the draft.
Right. You've said that before.
It's just a lot of teams are struggling with quarterback production.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those teams picked in front of the Skulls. So,
okay.
He hit a home run. The Argos are still dealing with injuries. Especially the severity of the Kittle injury.
Mm-hmm.
He won't be able to reproduce that level of production at that position consistently.
Right.
I'm not feeling Dalvin against Carolina.
Okay.
Add the fact that the Skulls have favorable matchups at every skill position,
mm-hmm.
and I have them getting a key win over the Argo, going 146 to the Argo's 129.
All right, man. I'm going to have to go the other way. I like the Skulls matchups. I like Darrell Henderson against the Giants. I'm not as sure about Aaron Jones against the Chicago defense. I think that they do a good job of slowing down the running game. It's typically Aaron through the air that gets them. I like Josh Allen on Monday night, but I think that game is going to be a game where the Tennessee offense is going to be able to balance it out more than the Chiefs offense. The Bills had the ball pretty much all night that game, and Josh Allen was able to gash them pretty much at will. On the Argonaut side, I'm looking at Dak Prescott going at New England. New England's defense, they don't have the pass rush they once had. That's the one thing that seems to fluster Dak, is if you can get into his face. When he's actually got room to throw the ball, he's one of the more efficient quarterbacks in the whole game. I'm with you on the Dalvin Cook play, but I think he's a guy that if he's healthy, of all the Argonauts running backs, despite the stable of guys they've got, Dalvin's got to be the guy in the lineup just because he's the most explosive player they've got there. I'm with you on Cameron Brate, but he's a Tom Brady target, and I guess you just kind of, it's a shot in the dark there. So I get what you're saying there, but I like Ezekiel Elliott in the Dak combo. Justin Jefferson, now they do not need to monitor that situation, but they're starting to find their scoring groove. Out of the last 3 weeks, they've went over 152 of those weeks. They also have great defensive plays, and I also like that Rams coach. Now, on the Skull side, with the Arizona HC, I'm not quite sure, but I do like that Seattle defense against Pittsburgh. Big Ben's know to give some stuff up. The plays are equal across both sides, but I think that the Argonauts actually get the win there off of a little residue from last week's high-scoring effort. I got the Argonauts winning this matchup 139 to the Skulls 132. And moving on to our prestige matchup of the week. We go into a huge one for wild card standings. Two teams that have been near the top of the PPL in the past few years, and they're trying to stay near the top, but they may have to go unconventional means. A squad underestimated takes on the Pantheon Cup 12 champions, Patty's Twins. All right, man, so here we go. I said it. These teams are probably maybe looking at the wild card route just because of how stacked things are in Omega for Patty's Twins and how far behind squad underestimated is in Alpha. What do you think of this matchup? Kyler Murray going against Aaron Rodgers and the Twins.
Yeah, squad. what can I say? They were allowed to keep their season alive.
Right.
I was less impressed with the win, and I was confused at his opponent not starting their best player.
Right.
I mean, that's what I took away from that game. Totally agree with your ugly and what your headspace was at on that. That's not on squad.
No.
But still, they are getting the best out of their opponents as the second highest scored on team in the PPL. You know, people come at the squad. At least they have this season. And I don't think it gets any easier against a hot Twins team. I mean, 3 straight wins, and they are at full strength.
Right.
At this point, I'm not confident that squad can overcome the injuries and impacts of the first round buys to the running back position.
Okay.
I honestly don't know who he plays there.
Yeah.
I mean, for the Twins, they should roll. I think they should start. I mean, my one area, and I've been saying that, I think this is the week too, that they should start Stafford against the Giants over Aaron.
Can't disagree.
Who said he traditionally beast modes the Bears. I wouldn't normally question, but this is the best Bears D he's probably seen in a decade.
Okay.
And he struggled a little bit against strong defenses.
Right.
I mean, you saw the effort week 1, so I don't think he's really seen a defensive challenge in the last several weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the Twins rolling 131 to the squad's 116.
Man, I think I'm gonna have to go with you, man, because I don't know if Christian McCaffrey's gonna play. I think that's really what's contingent on me picking squad. I was gonna go with squad when I saw earlier in the week them talking about how Christian McCaffrey was looking good, but he was a non-participant at practice today. You know what that is. He was trending towards playing last week. He was a 50-50 last week, and he was inactive. He's not ready to play, and I think that's what's going to be detrimental to squad underestimated. Kyler Murray slowed down a little bit from that pace that he set at the beginning of the season. I don't think it gets any easier with a Cleveland team who's going to be licking their chops to get better after that embarrassment on defense against the Chargers. Kyler's not quite the passer that Justin Herbert is, and I think that the pass rush of the Browns can make things a little tougher for a smaller man like Kyler Murray. Devin Booker, I think that the Rams are going to be ahead a lot in that matchup. Now, Booker is a decent play. He did catch a lot of balls out of the backfield, but I think that that's more of a prayer play, but it was a good waiver wire claim, especially due to what they're dealing with at the running back position. Amari Cooper, Marquise, Hollywood Brown was huge. I actually said he wasn't going to do anything. He proved me wrong, and he's having a top 10 season so far this year. That Chargers defense gave up a lot of big plays, so that's a great play for squad, but I'm just not as inspired in a lot of different places. I think that Buffalo-Tennessee game is actually going to be pretty high scoring. Tennessee might do some of the things that we expected Kansas City to do, maybe not win, but I think that they're going to be able to have a high scoring effort because they can balance out their game plan. Carolina and Minnesota, that's a coin flip matchup there. On the Twins side, you know what? I like Aaron Rodgers against Chicago. It is a matchup that the Bears have gotten better on defense, and they've really pulled it in because of their rookie QB. But I don't think that they've played a QB as good as Aaron quite yet, and I think he's going to have a pretty good day. Austin Eckler, the Baltimore defense got gashed by Jonathan Taylor. I think Austin Eckler is having himself a great breakout year, and I think that's going to continue. Taylor against that Houston defense, we saw what he did Monday night. And Robert Woods, I think that Coach got into Stafford's ear and say, hey, I know you like Cooper Kupp, but Robert Woods is a dog too, and we need to make sure he stays involved. With that said, I love the Dalton Schultz pickup at the tight end position. I think Patty's Twins does get this one. I'm going with Patty's Twins winning this matchup. 134 to squad underestimated is 122. Alrighty, PPLers, thanks for another great week of PPL Live. We're going to get you guys started off, obviously, with the United play as the Destroyers, trying to jump out in front of the BGT with Tom Brady and his triumvirate of Buccaneers. And, of course, we'll close out on Monday night with those same United players getting Derrick Henry in the matchup and seeing if the Skulls can get the Argonauts for their first defeat behind Josh Allen. You guys have a great weekend.